This is part 2 of our two-player Pong program video, and we have just done paddle 1 and drawn paddle 1 and paddle 2 on the screen and made them paddle 1 respond to the gamepad. I'm going to let you worry about paddle 2. If you can figure out how paddle 1 works, you can get paddle 2 to work as well. Okay, so we've got paddle 1 working. Now let's focus on the ball a little bit. First of all, we're going to need a ball. Now I've already got a ball that I've created. Let's go to our content. We're going to add an existing item, and I have something out here called now I've got that one, but I don't want to use that because that's red. I've got a white one, and I think no, I think it's circle. Let's do circle here, and I'm going to add that, and I'm just going to double click on here. I think that's the one that has the corners grayed out. Well, it still doesn't it doesn't show the checkerboard here like paint.net does, so we'll just run it and see. Now I got to decide how big we want the ball to be. So again, we're going to be initializing things up here. Okay, so that's all our paddle stuff. Now let's put some stuff down here for the ball. We need to decide on how big the ball rectangle is going to be, and we'll just do 0, 0. Whoops, not 0, 0, for the X and the Y. We're going to change that. We're going to put random numbers in there, but let's put in a width. And let's try 20 and a height of 20. That way it will be round, not oval shaped. And let's just let's go down here and let's draw the ball. The ball texture, and draw it inside the ball rectangle. And let's make its color dot red. Okay, now that's not going to work until I also load in my content. So ball texture equals and okay, now let's try it. And if we end up with the corners visible, we'll just have to go and fix that back in paint.net and put in some transparent regions in to the ball. Now this should be in the upper left hand corner, and there it is. Now obviously that's out of the playing area. I don't really care. I just want to make sure that it's appearing on the screen the way I want it to, and it is. And now another thing we need to do in initialize here is we need to decide a random X location for it. Now I want it to be in the middle of the screen. Okay, so ball rectangle dot X is going to be easy. That's just going to be the center of the screen is going to be the screen dot left plus half of the width divided by 2. Okay, but that's the upper left hand corner of the rectangle that encloses the ball, and I want it to be truly centered on the screen, and it only be off by a little bit here, but I need to back off half the width of the ball. So ball rectangle dot width divided by 2. Okay, and I'm just going to run that, and that should put the ball, the y coordinate is still 0, but that should put the ball right smack in the center of the screen here, up on the top. And there it is, right up there on the top. So we can stop that, and now the only other thing I need to do is I need to pick out, I want a random height for it. Okay, so the game doesn't start in the same place every time. So let's do ball rectangle dot y equals, and now I want a random number between the top of the screen and the bottom of the screen. So rand dot next, and I want the third version where I give a minimum value and a maximum value, and the minimum value is going to be screen dot top, and the maximum value is going to be screen dot bottom. Okay, and that should do it. Now let's run it. and it should appear some random location in the center of the screen. Okay, so it's going to start at the bottom this time. Let's stop it. Let's run it again. And now it's up there near the middle. Let's stop it. Let's run it again. And that's similar to where it was before, but I don't think it's the same position. Let's stop it. Let's just do one more try here. And that's up near the top. So it looks like that part's working. We've got our player one paddle is working, and now we need to concentrate on every tick of the clock. We're already updating the paddle. We need to update the ball as well. Okay, now let's the ball is going to need an X speed and a Y speed, and turns out we already have a variable or a data type. We've got a vector 2 that holds two numbers for us, and we'll call that ball speed. Okay, now there's a little bit of a problem with that, but we'll worry about that in a minute here. And so after we position the ball, let's put all the stuff together for the ball here. So we'll do ball speed dot x equals +5, and we'll do ball speed dot y equals +5, and we'll start off going down and to the right. And then down here, I'm going to put some comments in here. I'm going to start dividing this up into regions so it's a little bit easier to follow. So this is update paddle 1, and then we're going to take this and move it down here. And we'll leave a little space, and that's where you're going to put in your code, and then we're going to update ball. Okay. So how do you update the ball? Well, first thing you do is you figure out what's new coordinates are going to be. Well, the ball's coordinates are in the ball rectangle.x, and I want to add on whatever is the ball speed .x. Okay, and I'm going to get an error here when I do this. Okay, and here's the error. Vectors are floating point numbers, and rectangles are integers. And this is the number 5, but it's being stored as a floating point number, and what I need to do is I need to tell C# to convert that into an int. Okay, so I have to do a little typecasting thing there that we did with bytes earlier. Whoops, not ball rectangle. Okay, so that'll update the both the x and y coordinates. So our ball should move now. We're already drawing it. I don't need to draw it again, so that part's fine. Now let's see what happens. And we seem to have lost it here, and darn it, let's try stopping it, and let's try running it again, and I hope it comes up on top this time so we can see what's going on. Okay, so it's moving down to the right, but it's disappearing off the bottom. And now what we've got to do is we've got to make it do some bouncing. Okay, and we know how to do that. So let's check to see. It looks like the first thing it's probably going to do is going to hit the bottom. So let's make it bounce off the bottom. How do I know if it's hit the bottom? Well, if the ball rectangle dot y coordinate plus the height of the ball is greater than or equal to screen dot bottom, then what do I want to do? I want to reverse the y speed. So ball rectangle dot y equals minus ball rectangle dot y. Okay, and let's run that. And that did not work. The reason it didn't work is because I made a mistake here. I don't want to update the rectangle. I want to update the speed. Okay, now let's run it and see what we get. Okay, now it obviously started real close to the bottom, so I didn't even see it move, but it bounced off the bottom. And this is the nice thing about writing just a little bit of code and then testing it. If everything is working, and then I write these 2 lines of code right here, and now it's not working, I pretty much know where I need to look to find the mistake. It's going to be these 2 lines of code. I don't have to look at a whole bunch of lines of code to try to figure out what's wrong. So that takes care of it bouncing off the bottom. Now let's see about it bouncing off the top. And how do I know if it should bounce off the top? Well, if the y coordinate is equal to the top of the screen. So if it is less than or equal screen dot top, then I want to set the ball speed to minus again. Okay. And I can test that real easily by changing my ball speed .y to begin with to minus, which will make it go up in the beginning. And now we can test this new line of code. Okay, so it is bouncing off of the top. Okay, and now I want to see if it can bounce off of the paddles. And the question here is, how do I know if it has touched a paddle? And we're going to look at something we haven't looked at before. We'll know that it touches the paddle if the rectangle that encloses the ball, intersects the rectangle that encloses the paddle. Okay, and there happens to be a built-in method called intersects, which makes life real easy for us. So here's what I want to do. I want to check to see if the ball rectangle dot, and now if I type I here, you see intersects as an option, and that determines whether one rectangle intersects with another. So I want to know if the ball rectangle intersects, and over on the right side, so we want to look at paddle to rectangle, and if it does, then I want to reverse the ball speed in the x direction. Okay, and the same thing works on the other side. If the ball rectangle intersects paddle 1 rectangle, then I want to reverse the ball speed again. So let's run that. And I'm going to have a real problem here because I do not have the second paddle with me. So what I'm going to have to do is I'm going to have to test it on the left side, which means I need to set my x initial speed to minus. And actually, you know what I'm going to do here? I'm going to cheat. This is a way you can pretend you got 2 paddles when you've only got 1, at least in a game like this. I am going to, whenever I move paddle 1 up or down, I'm going to do the same thing with paddle 2. So, and all that's doing is changing the y coordinates. I can actually do that with one command here. Paddle 2 dot rectangle dot y equals paddle paddle 1 rectangle dot y. Okay, and now when I run the program, both paddles should move in unison, and I should actually be able to try to play the game a little bit here. And it appears to be working. It's a little jerky, but again, that's my recording software, I'm almost certain. Oh, that wasn't good, was it? Okay, it looked like it actually got past the paddle, and I still was able to return it. And we probably don't want that to happen, but we'll take a look at that in the next.